Alright guys, TouchGrabber back again today. Haven't enjoyed your Friday so far, and today we're going to talk about Kenny versus Dashy, a former duo on the OpTic Gaming Los Angeles team last season in the Modern Warfare season. Definitely got on as individuals, but as players they definitely didn't necessarily see eye to eye, as Kenny will talk about today. OpTic Gaming Los Angeles released Dashy a couple of days ago now. Dashy was pretty happy about this as a couple of clips came out on, the Twitter sphere afterwards. There's a key one really where he talks about how he kind of got screwed over having to run an SMG. We're going to talk about that one in a couple of minutes time here, because Kenny responded to that one specifically, but also some other things as well. And of course this is pretty important given it's very likely that Dashy will be joining the Chicago Huntsmen next season. Even further ratified here as Kenny does confirm the rumor that we talked about at the start of the Modern Warfare season, that Dashy actually wanted to go to the Huntsmen, and so he couldn't manage to figure out a working situation with Scump and Co, and is actually getting onto that team, but he didn't want to play with the OpTic Gaming Los Angeles the entire season long. Finally he is released. Chicago looks like the next step. And a lot of people have been talking about in the comment section below on these videos that, okay, maybe is Dashy the best fit for that squad? Is the work ethic going to be there on that team? And would Priester potentially, or some other options, be a better decision for the Chicago Huntsmen? Well, we're going to talk about what Kenny has to think about it today, and intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. A couple of things to go through first before we look at this Kenny stuff. Mutineers officially do release Morks and Frosty from their contract, as Cronut CDL Intel says here, so they've released the contract. Havoc may well be re-signed on the 14th, and Ferro is either staying on Florida or potentially going to New York alongside Clayster, Mac, and Zuma is the possibility right now, and more than likely maybe he will stay on Florida, but it's a very volatile situation right now in terms of how the contracts are working out. This is another one, a few people were pointing this out to me yesterday. Dylan Ryan says that Ferro, as you can see in the top left right here, has a New York Subliners kind of sticker, like emblem thing going on, so definitely implying he wants to go there. He's definitely talked about on the Twitter sphere especially, like atting Clayster and stuff, and saying, look, third time's the charm, like get me in the team, this kind of stuff. So maybe it's Florida wanting to keep on to him, which I wouldn't be surprised about at all. And if they do manage to let go of him, or if New York can figure out the contract situation, Ferro probably would prefer to go to the New York Subliners based on a couple of things that we've been seeing over the last couple of days, and that'd be a pretty nice team, I think. Tommy says things are about to get real exciting. Released from the Dallas Empire kind of as a substitute the other day, so who knows exactly where he's going to be going next. I doubt he'll come back as like a professional player, but maybe he'll go through the amateur side. Did really well playing Warzone on stream this season, so very happy for him. Have to see how things go next, and he says real exciting. Have to keep an eye on that one. This came up for the Ravens as well. They did like a highlights video of the World Championship. Just to keep in mind, Shawnee and Dylan CoD are the two guys in the thumbnail here. Shawnee is the guy confirmed back onto the team, and Dylan is rumored to be coming back. So it definitely seems like, why would they use Dylan on the thumbnail? They could have just put Shawnee, given he's the only guy confirmed. The fact that they've put Dylan maybe means that he's going to be coming back as well. Shawnee, Dylan, and Alex from the Minnesota Rocker is the rumored team of three going forwards right now. Scrap says this because it's pretty relevant talking about this right now. My email is this: if we don't get something sorted, it's all good. We'll probably just take the year off and stream. Interesting that Scraps talked really the entire season long about how his frustrations, existed with the game, and that he fancied just taking next year off anyway. And as it looks like now, if Scraps doesn't get a starting spot, he's just going to be taking the year off and streaming, and seeing how that goes for him. Pretty crazy stuff. This came out as well from Exclusive Ace yesterday, talking about the time to kill. I mean, look here at the time to kill in Modern Warfare compared to Black Ops 4. Absolutely, no comparison, right? And Call of Duty Cold War, Black Ops Cold War, is relatively close to the Black Ops 4 time to kill. Slightly lower, slightly faster, but nowhere near what Modern Warfare is, which a lot of people would say would increase the skill gap in Cold War, given you have to hit more shots to get your kill. And it was definitely a consideration from the developers in Infinity Ward, making the time to kill very fast, so that, bad players and new players, I suppose, can easily get kills because they barely have to hit any bullets. Tony Flame also says they're still working on the final competitive rule set. We'll be able to speak more on this very shortly indeed. Let's talk about the Kenny stuff then. There's a couple of minutes of clips I wanted to share with you guys here on screen now of him talking about the situation with Dashy, and he goes through a few points that I'll share, and then we'll go through some of the other things he has to say.
You playing flex? I get flex, bro. Flex, AR, don't matter. It's not a main sub, like how I got Ho this year. Smoke sub, main sub, smoke.
I respect Bruce as a player. As a person. As a player, I'm iffy about him because we did not want to play with Brandon. We thought Brandon was going to be a 4, but not the player we wanted to play with. Now, keep in mind, Cheese wanted to play with Brandon really good, really, like a lot. and he thought Brandon was nasty, and he was gonna fit our roster perfectly. I'm not even Roaster Bruce. I'm not even coming at him. Like I said, I respect him as a person. That's my guy. We had a lot of fun moments, but when it comes to team and Call of Duty, no fun. And then this Fugazi ass shit happens where he was trying to join Chicago before we even like got the sign or anything. And me and Austin were like, what the fuck? Keep in mind, TJ and Brandon show up late almost like every other day, probably like a few minutes late, but sometimes it was OD. No cap, not even capping. Like I said, I still want to play with TJ. No cap, people show up late. And so here's where the cap part comes in. This not cap like the player cap, but the cap that I've been seeing. I keep seeing that Brandon was hold and put on this main sub. He was not hold. First of all, I have receipts on where I had a whole talk with Brandon, me and Eric, where we said we wanted Brandon to be our star player. Me saying this. You know what I'm saying? I have a small little ego where I obviously want to be the star player, but I've gone into this role player role, and I wanted him to be the star player. Legit, I told him to his face, yo, you are going to be our star player. You shoot straighter than a lot of people I know. Only person I probably know that can match you when shooting straight is fucking Samuel Octane. Told him this to his face. No bullshit. I got receipts. And I'm like, bro, you are our player. We need you. Like, fam, what do you want to run? He wants to run main. He wants to run AR. Okay, let's put Brandon on main AR. We put Brandon on main AR. Austin ran flex. We told Brandon literally went into practice the next few days and didn't say no. He barely called out. So me and Eric were like, yo, if you're gonna run main AR, this is how main AR works. You have to control your subs. Like he was like, bro, I played a whole like Hackney hardpoint and Hackney Dom. I died to top L the whole time. Nobody had my top L. I hate picking it up. Cool. Guess what? I'm like, yo, you tell your sub players to go pick up top L. That's how an AR works. You navigate your subs on where you want them to pick up so you can set up. Bam. He told us that. We go pick up top L. We were still ass. Like, keep in mind, it wasn't like, oh, Brandon was just ultra fine on AR. We were still ass. So what the fuck you do? Keep playing, keep being ass. We gave you what you want. He didn't take advantage of it.
So these are his main points as put together here by Joseph. So his main points were Slashy and Kenny didn't want to team with Brandon, that being Dashy at the beginning, only did it because they wanted to team with TJ. And then he talks about the Chicago rumor that went on behind the scenes, and already there was kind of a weird team dynamic where Dashy clearly wanted to go to Chicago and that couldn't work out for contract reasons, or apparently he was trying to get traded with Gunless or something like that. And so move on, it honestly kind of would have made sense, but it doesn't end up happening that season. Pretty much happening this season though. It looks like Dashy is going to go to Chicago, and the fact that this was confirmed makes it even more likely that Dashy has been like waiting to go to Chicago the entire season long, frankly, and it probably will come true now. But yeah, he made the commitment to OpTic and upset Kenny and Slasher. They obviously showed up late to practice, as he was talking about, not by too much, but showing up late constantly. Kenny said like that's not a big deal for him, but like Slasher doesn't like that, and Slasher doesn't get on with that at all, which I think is fair enough, right? If you're turning up late to practice every day, you're just wasting everyone's time. I think the most interesting part really is where he talks about how they were fine with Brandon, and that being Dashy, being the star player on the team, right? Like Slasher was willing to give up the main assault rifle to let Dashy run it, and Slasher would run a flex, like meaning he has to use an SMG on certain maps, which really is never going to work, to be honest. But like maybe they thought, okay, maybe it can work if Dashy's the main assault rifle, because he does shoot very straight, as Kenny was saying. And as Dashy said in that clip I just put up just before the Kenny stuff, the Bruce he kind of got hoed, he kind of got screwed over kind of thing. And then Kenny goes on to say he didn't give comms, he mumbled and groaned and was pretty average in their main AR role. So they weren't really happy with that one, of course, Kenny and Slasher. Then of course Bruce comes out and gets dropped from the team, and Kenny obviously isn't particularly happy that he's like hyped to be off a team, acting all arrogant. Apparently his contract on OpTic Gaming was insane, like a lot of money. We're going to be talking about what some of these other pro players make later in today's video. And he says this argument is BS, because if any other starter was playing badly, no one would make that excuse for them. Kenny says him and Slasher were willing to bench themselves if it meant the team winning. Both were told that they just could not be benched off the team, which kind of meant that Dashy was the odd one out, as Kenny was saying from the start he was kind of the odd one out in that lineup, that he was never really meant to be there in the first place, but they teamed with him because TJ wanted to play with him and Slasher and co wanted to keep capping the team, and it seemed to all kind of work out. What's also interesting is that he says the one map he played at the World Championship was kind of overrated, that Dashy was already scrimming since Hollow was kind of having some issues and lagging out, so the getting out of bed and saving OpTic argument was BS as well. So some interesting back and forth there, to be honest, kind of getting towards Dashy's work ethic and some of the issues that he had on this team this season. And so I certainly understand that, but Dashy does come back with a pretty interesting response as Dizzy CoD breaks down here on the Reddit. Starts off by saying he has no problems with Kenny individually. He was the realest one on the organization. He's mad at how the team's problems were made public knowledge. So this is an interesting point. Like, certainly looking forward to the Chicago team next season. We can talk about the work ethic issues potentially all we like, but at the end of the day, if Slasher and co are going around to other teams and talking about how, this Dashy guy never wanted to play with him anyway, and now he's like messing up our practice and not trying as the main AR, and all this kind of stuff, like, that's not really gonna be a recipe for success to get the team back together and back meshing again for the next season of Call of Duty play. And so, the fact that they didn't keep their problems in-house kind of probably put all possibilities of this team repairing itself out the window. And as he says, at the start of the year, he wanted to pick up Illy, but Slasher wanted to pick up JCap. About disrespecting the York, he didn't want to talk about it, but he says the rest of the team has no idea what happened during the offseason. He's talking about the buyout situation when Immortals bought out the Infinite brand, which owned the OpTic Gaming brand, and they're like potentially going to Chicago and all this kind of stuff around that. He says he wasn't the only one not calling out in scrims, mentions a time where Slasher wasn't calling out for a whole map, so Kenny just, went home. He owns up to his mistakes, but says it wasn't just him, and the team shouldn't be acting like that. So interesting back and forth here. So I definitely think that if he does go to Chicago in a better environment for him in theory, where of course he gets on with Scump and wants to play with him again, and Formal seems pretty happy to get him into the team and all this kind of stuff. If Dashy's in a comfortable environment for himself and the teammates get on with him and all this kind of stuff, then I think this team can be fantastic. The risk really is, for me, is a coach going to be on this team to kind of control these guys? Because there's definitely a situation where you look at a team like Dallas Empire, you look at a guy like Crimsix. Crimsix is not taking any slack, right? He's not then Slashes in a similar way, right? If you're not turning up to scrims on time, if you're even a few minutes late, that's not going to be tolerated. And maybe it will be tolerated on the Chicago Huntsman team next season, and that may be an issue for them, right? Even if the team's comfortable and all this kind of stuff, like Crimsix and Karma and TP talked to, well, Crimsix especially, at some length at how he felt like he had to babysit Dashy and he was never there on time, all this kind of stuff on the OpTic Gaming team in the Black Ops 4 season. And guess what, right? Crimsix goes on to become a world champion again with guys that actually do turn up on time and do listen and are willing to improve. And maybe that's an issue that we can see with Dashy next season on the Chicago Huntsman, but in a more comfortable lineup for him where he gets on better with the guys, maybe that won't be as big of an issue as we do think. This is the rumored roster, as you can see right now. Envoy, Scump, Dashy, and Formal here on screen. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you are new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.